Welcome to the Clarity Games with your hosts Lynn, Elaine, and Greg. Let's welcome today's contestant, our special guest, Dave Hill. Now let's play some Clarity Games. All right, game 5. Okay, this is an interesting one. So this is things are not always what they seem. So for 1 minute, players agree on a life event. Example, job promotion, or we could some of the life events you just mentioned, Dave. We can land on a life event, then we'll spend 5 minutes brainstorming about the positive things about that event. Then we spend 5 minutes brainstorming potential negative things about that event, and then we spend 5 minutes discussing what we've brainstormed and any insights or anything that we noticed along the way. So I'm just going to get my timer ready here. So let's stop sharing. So anyone have any ideas for life events to explore? The one that's top of mind for me is losing your job, because a good friend of mine, he works for one of the major banks here, and despite making record profits, as these banks tend to always do, they're in a downsizing phase. So for the last 2 weeks, he's on pins and needles every day, whether he's going to go into work today to find out he's been let go or not. And he's still not certain what's happening, but they're kind of working their way down the food chain. The more senior people get notified first, and then it kind of trickles down. So this week might be his week, but that's the one that's top of mind for me.
That's it.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's been an interesting one in my career as well, in terms of the realization between being warned that you might be about to be let go versus having a permanent role. Because there's some really interesting nuggets in there. Anyway, sorry, Elaine, you were saying.
Yeah, no. And just as you sort of added to that, yes, and also it's very interesting because sometimes losing a job it depends.
Yeah, well, that's what
or is it something found? Yeah. But what came to mind for me, sort of just off the top of my head, is perhaps big life event could be retirement. That could be. Yeah.
Oh, that's another good one.
Yeah.
We have one of our Clarity colleagues who's just retired, which I find very fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm happy with either one. I think there's a lot of gold in each.
Well,
so.
Let's do retirement. How's retirement sound?
Mm-hmm.
Any dissenters? All right,
Dave, because you sounded.
Yeah, no, all good. It's much of a muchness, isn't it? It's
well, yeah,
very similar thing.
The other one, the other one was involuntary retirement.
Yes.
Potentially. All right, so we'll do 5 minutes of brainstorming on what are the positive outcomes that we see around retirement.
There's the sort of obvious one of more time for yourself and for your hobbies, your family. Yeah.
Finally get to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Freedom from our routine. Probably learn things about yourself that you didn't know, and what you want to do. If you haven't, when you think about some people who've retired, they haven't taken time to look at that, been so busy focusing on what they were doing.
Yeah.
For many years for me at work, my password was retire 55. And
awesome.
it was like we had an investment firm here. Their slogan was Freedom 55. Like, it was all about how do you retire when you're 55. But that's kind of the promise of go to school, get an education, get a good job, and work your ass off for your whole life to get to the holy grail of retirement. So it's kind of when I think about retirement, it's like I made it. Like, I'm finally here. All those years of hard work, and it's finally here. So it's kind of like getting to the end of the race, so to speak.
The golden goose.
Yeah.
The golden goose. Potential positive.
Yeah, as you know, a bit along the lines of, finally getting to do what you want, but also like actually having the opportunity and the time, therefore, to learn a new skill that you.
Yeah, sort of. Again, it all sort of links back to that time business. Doing the bits of traveling that you really wish you could have done if you'd had more time to do it.
Yeah, travel came up for me.
So I'm thinking of my in-laws when my father-in-law retired. My mother-in-law was still working, so he was home alone all of a sudden, and he loved it. And then when my mother-in-law retired, she kind of ruined his retirement because now she was home. But it's like a whole new phase of life, right? Like as an adult, when you're a kid, you go through junior school, then senior school, whatever, and university, college, whatever, and then you start working. But that work phase of your life is 40, 45, 50 years. And then all of a sudden you hit retirement, and it's been a long time since you've had a new phase in your life.
Yeah.
So I can see the excitement and stuff around that.
Yeah. I actually can't wait until we get on what are the potential negative outcomes, because at the moment that's the only thing that's coming up for me.
Hold your horses for 2 minutes.
I will.
There's a real opportunity in stepping away from that and redefining yourself. Certainly if you've been in the same industry for your whole working career, you're probably tied yourself to a job title or a particular skill set that you're now sort of almost free from and can go on and be you for once, rather than you the plumber or you the builder or you the actuary, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
I always envision my retirement as being, sleeping in, getting up, go golfing. Don't care if it's a 6-hour round of golf or, however long it takes. Come back, have a nap. Like very much a life of leisure and lounging around, enjoying myself, not having deadlines or pressures.
I know other people that are retired that have just made project after project after project and just not thrashed themselves, but I'm going to be busy.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how you can have those, well, I want easy street, or no, I've got things to do, and it's not that they're feeling pressured to do that. It's just that's what makes sense to them.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on how you retire, doesn't it? I mean, if you retire with no possible view of having a pension or something, then it's kind of rather somewhat worrying. But I guess I'm going on to the negative side again. Sorry, guys.
Well, that's okay. Our 5 minutes just elapsed, so we can segue into your negative.
Seamless transition.
Yeah, the first thing actually that struck me with Dave, when you said, you are, how like it's attached, your whole working life is indeed attached to your identity. Like, I'm a retired plumber, I'm a retired actuary, I'm a retired whatever I am. And like that could potentially become rather worrying, because when you retire and then say, well, who the hell am I? Perhaps it could be something to be addressed with people, sort of thing, before they, what's your take on retirement? Well, I don't know, like that looks pretty scary to me.
It certainly can be. It's certainly an experience that I've witnessed in others. That
Yeah.
people leaving the forces can really struggle with the loss of who they were, because
Yeah.
I was this thing in an organization, and it had clear structure and clear position on role and
Yeah.
importance and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, you're not that. That can be really tricky for some.
Yeah. And it sounds to me like sort of how the other side of the coin of freedom, because at that point you're free. But again, if you don't have you to take with you, or only what you've always been, and I think you're kind of sort of military kind of definition, let's say, it also implies somebody that for the whole of their life have been formed in their adult life by somebody else. So again, you could end up, ending that period of your life, retiring as such, and like you've got absolutely nothing or no one to cling on to, no role model. You've got nothing left. If you haven't been able to create that for yourself during that time in that kind of job. And that sounds again scary to me.
Yeah. I think of all the stories you hear about, people work their whole life to retire, and then within a short period of time after retirement, they're dead because
heart attack.
They don't have
Right.
I don't know, a purpose. Almost, it's like losing their purpose. That's why it can be, I'm sure, scary. And it's funny, even for myself, like in my 20s and 30s, I dreamt about retirement a lot. Now in my 50s, I'm not really that interested.
It's feeling a bit too close for comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking about people close to me, actually, who have retired and thought it was going to look one way, and it really didn't. So there was a whole load of thinking around it and what it was going to be, but the reality of it was different. And it's some of that, when you're in a job or in an organization or working in whatever environment, people turn to you or you turn to them, and all of a sudden that's gone. So there's the whole connection thing and the who am I part and the kind of what next piece. Yeah, there's a lot wrapped up in it.
I know for me, like I didn't retire, but when I left my corporate work, I didn't realize in the time how much social aspects of my life were caught up, or just a function of being at work, right? Like you talk to people all day, every day. You have, at the time I would have called them friendships, but as soon as you're not in that environment anymore, those friendships, unless you are very deliberate about trying to continue them, they just disappear, and it can be very lonely. So, losing that whole network of people, although I know when my father-in-law retired, it was around the same time a number of his colleagues were also retiring. So they had like a little coffee group. So whatever, every Thursday morning they would meet up at the local coffee shop and hang out. They've been friends for another 20 years because they've just kept that going. And they I'm sure they're still sitting around telling stories about the old days and whatnot, but it gets them that connection and things. But I can very easily see how people could lose that. And how that could be negative for them.
Yeah. And, comparing the sense of, well, it'd be great to be retired because you've got more time, more time to do the things you want. But sometimes I wonder if, unless you've got a very clear, like, Dave, it sounded to me like you've got so many things you're already planning on doing that it's just never ending. But there will be, I guess, a lot of people who have no idea what it is they want to do and find themselves with this huge amount of emptiness and time to fill in. And I'm wondering, Greg, if those people that sort of straight after their retirement drop down dead, for stress and anxiety for lack of things to do. And And I know in that statistic as well, there are people who, for character or for their job position, you know, they're so used to having people to control and manage that they find themselves like, you know, and then they find themselves that actually it's their wife that's been controlling and managed them all along. And then all of a sudden it's just awful. You know what I mean? Like, oh God, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Can't do it 24/7.
Well, let's spend 5 minutes and talk about any insights we've had or anything that we noticed or showed up or thought of differently.
I think there's an interesting one in terms of retirement actually being a thing.
Yeah.
You know, we are born and we die, and in the middle there's stuff, and we tend to label it and put it into buckets and go, well, this is that phase and that's that phase, and it's all just life at the end of the day for me. And therefore, you know, one of the things when I left the army, you know, that's all I ever wanted to be, was a soldier, until I decided it wasn't you know, wasn't the direction I wanted to continue going in. I absolutely loved it still, but it was quite a wrench leaving, but also I knew I wanted to, so it was I had a plan for that. Not that I needed one, but you know, there was a clear direction I was going in. But then there was well, what do I do next? I had no idea about that. And then I had the realization that actually I didn't need to know. So I used to get wheeled out in my second civilian job to talk about the fact that how come there's this soldier working in this organization that doesn't look, you know, what's that about? So I get rolled out in front of the interns, and the first thing I say is, hi, I'm Dave, I'm 40, whatever I was at the time, and I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Which was it's just a, you know, a fun way of leveling, and let's see where we are, because actually I don't know, still don't know. I'm enjoying what I do at the moment. Who knows what I'll be doing next week?
Yeah.
I love that you said that. I tell that to my kids all the time. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with my life.
My two have got it completely. So when they're asked, what do you know what you want to do at university, or what do you want to do when you leave school? No idea, but it doesn't look like it matters, because mum and dad both did these things, and they're now on their second or third or fourth iteration of other stuff since then. So it doesn't look like it really matters.
Yeah,
which is a big change from just one generation ago, right?
Huge.
That sense, the sense you say, Dave, of as you speak, it gives me a sense of freedom, in the sense of something with no restraints to it, and yet for other people, you know, the not knowing is a huge issue.
Yeah.
But I love the way that you know that in itself is an insight. You know, it's like, oh well, who knows? You know, well, that's kind of fun. Let's get curious about that sort of thing. It's kind of empowering, and you know, you also somehow break down the barriers of space and time. Because, well, if you don't know what you're doing, then you know, you don't have to plan anything, do you? You just have to see what happens. That's like wonderful, you know. And you can do that anytime you want.
Absolutely.
So it's not so much, you know, the idea of finally getting to do what you want. It's you'll finally find out that you've got something to do, kind of thing. It's just a complete turnaround. That's so insightful. Yeah.
You know, that again, it's a bizarre lesson that I learned a long time ago, about maps not being accurate. You know, and that even includes the ones that are printed off, because they've got you know, they were made at a certain point in time, and you purchased it or been given it at a later point in time. And I remember going and we were doing a job in Sierra Leone, and part of the country, the maps that we were given were completely blank. There was nothing on them. The land still existed, and where we needed to get was the other side of it. Okay, well, off we go. We are literally exploring off the edge of our map now. And that gave us real comfort to know that we could still get around the place, still arrive at our destination, and learn that we didn't need this piece of paper necessarily, and that we can get around the place quite comfortably without it. We might not know exactly where we are, but we won't be far from where we thought we were. And let's see what possible looks like.
Yeah.
I saw a cartoon yesterday on Instagram. It was like 4 people on a hiking path in the woods, and the guy at the back is holding a mop, and the guy in the second person in line says, "Oh, I hope we'll be okay. We've never been on this trail before." And the first guy says, "Well, as long as Bob brought the map, we'll be fine."
I love it. I love
it. That sounds like a bad dad joke.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, I guess what's coming up for me is, as if people can see that it's all to play for still, then maybe there's some comfort in that.
Yeah. Start of a new adventure.
Yeah.
I know for me that it's not the shiny object that I used to think it was, retirement. Like, it's not the, you don't have to wait till you retire to have fun. You can have fun today. That's what I've seen.
Yeah.
And I wonder if, I don't know, generally speaking, like just the very word itself, like if you think about it, and somebody said this as well, it doesn't really mean anything, does it? I mean, it just means that you are not getting paid anymore to do something, and you will get a sum of money in anyway every month because you did something in the past that you got paid for. But actually, it doesn't mean anything at all. But we do attribute, I think, generally speaking, let's say the masses attribute sort of all positive or negative things to the retirement. But like, what does it mean? I mean, it doesn't mean anything really, does it?
No. Like Saturday and Sunday don't really mean anything.
Well, yes, so what? And who cares, basically?
Also, who decided how old you are when that happens? Who decided?
Well, yeah.
It's bonkers.
That's a big thing.
Actually, think about it.
I think I saw something in the news here in Canada. They're talking about changing the retirement age from 65 to 70 or something because the Canadian pension fund is in trouble. I don't know, whatever, but bureaucrats.
Like who says?
Who says? Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our time. So that was a fun one. Let's see. For one more.
Something that came whilst just spinning. Whilst we were talking about retirement and some of the downside there, what popped into my head was the whole remote working stuff with some of the same issues. I could see a parallel.
All right, so game 1, it's one of our favorites.
One of our favorites.
Yes.
So player 1, the guest, shares something that they want more clarity on, a problem they want to solve, a goal they want to accomplish, etc. For 2 to 3 minutes. For 5 minutes, all of the players take turns making I wonder statements relating to what player 1 has shared. Player 1 just listens and takes in what people are wondering. And then for 2 minutes, player 1 shares what they heard that was interesting or made a difference for them and reports on whether anything has changed or shifted for them. So as I read out these times, I think the 5 minutes and 2 minutes at the end may not be long enough. So we'll extend those as we see fit. But
cool.
Everyone clear on what we're doing?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Over to you, Dave. Is there something you want more clarity on, a problem you want to solve, a goal you want to accomplish, or something you just want to get off your chest?
Yeah, I think I can go down the route I was talking about earlier, but more blandly, which makes it more publishable. Both my parents are not as young as they used to be, not as fit and healthy as they used to be. and live about 450 miles away from me and about 250, 300 miles away from my sister. Now they've got a fantastic community that they live in. They're well supported, well loved, well looked after from that perspective. But there is a logistical, both physical and time-based problem in terms of I am not on the doorstep and I can't drop everything easily to get down and help them out if they need it. Now, working for myself makes it a little bit easier, and I've been able to do quite a bit of that this year, which has been great, and I'm very, very grateful for that. But most of the time I've got commitments up here that I can't drop. I've got 2 teenage daughters that I see. I get access to every other 5 days, as my ex-wife is a police officer. So we do a shift pattern with the children, which works really, really well, but it's not massively conducive to disappearing to the other end of the country. So it'd be really cool to work out whether I'm not making excuses, but am I using the principles as a way of, this is why I'm not feeling more caught up in the I should be being more helpful route? Or is there a way I can be even more helpful and useful to them and my sister by listening and being present when I can in the way that I can, and just to see where that takes me and takes all of us. So I don't know, is that clear enough? Do you got any questions?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Any questions from you guys? No?
Yeah.
So I'm going to set the timer. Let's do 10. We'll set it for 10 minutes. And if it's too long, we can stop anytime. But there's lots of things to wonder about here.
I go first?
Sure, go for it.
Yeah. I guess what pops up for me first is if Dave was closer, I wonder what support and what practical things he would be doing on a regular basis that aren't in place now.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder a lot of things about what might be going on as Dave used the word should.
I really picked up on when he was talking about using the 3 principles so that this doesn't bother him, and that maybe it should be bothering him more. And I just wonder how different this would be if he could let that go.
Yeah. I wonder what the excuses he believes that he thinks he's thinking are. And I also wonder why he believes that, again, the should word, but specifically he should drop everything and go. As if either parent or sister or anybody involved in this scenario might not understand.
And I guess on the back of that, I wonder what Dave thinks other people are thinking that he should or shouldn't be doing, or what excuses he's making.
I wonder if he's spoken to those concerned about this.
Yeah. I wonder what his parents want or need. I wonder if Dave realizes that his parents will love him no matter what he does.
I need to just drop something in here. Don't hit me, guys. I wonder what Dave would do if he were 5% kinder to himself as he approaches this issue. Sorry, I stole that one from anybody. I wonder what was the, sorry, Lynn.
Nope, go.
Nope. I was just very curious about why we might have found interesting the information that he is 450 miles away from, further away from his parents, and his sister is exactly 230 miles. I wonder what's in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's so much in this that I relate to because my mom has passed, but I'm dealing with my dad and I have siblings, and so we're going through similar things. But I often think for myself, so I wonder if Dave thinks this too, but I often think that I'm modeling for my children what they should do for me when I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Dave ever thinks the same thing.
Yeah.
I guess I wonder. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I guess I wonder if Dave drops out of his head into his heart, what does he know to do? And kind of just a little bit away from the situation, but when Dave said, I want to work out whether I'm making excuses, I wonder if he has other areas that he's trying to figure out if he's making excuses. I also want more. He said, "I wonder a way to be more helpful." I wonder what more helpful looks like to Dave. Did you hear that, Dave? No, you lost me.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me? Yeah. Okay. Will I say it again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You said something around figuring out a way to be more helpful. I wonder what more helpful looks like.
I wonder. I wonder if Dave wonders if him being physically present could actually seem like he is showing more support than when he's not physically present, especially as I know that Dave will also know everything about connection.
Mm.
And just to, on the back end of that, he did say that indeed his parents have all the support that they need, and that they're fine, and that they're in a good community. So it just sounded a little bit off balance, that comment, that observation.
I mean, this may be me reading into for my own situation with my parent and siblings, but I wonder if Dave and his sister approached this in a way that was free of judgment and insecurity, and just, full of love and understanding with each other and with their parents. What would be different?
I would also wonder more, out of just pure curiosity, more also about, because it was mentioned, Dave's perspective on his relationship with his sister,
Mm-hmm.
and what that got to do with it. Sort of like a check-in sort of thing, a little curiosity.
That's our 10 minutes.
Good.
So Dave, you got as much time as you want to share what was interesting, what you heard, what shifted, anything you're open to sharing with us.
Firstly, thank you for your wondering there. There were some interesting bits in there, some of which made me laugh, some of which caught me out, but all very, very helpful. So thank you very much for that. I only mentioned the distance of where I am and where my sister is to show that no family is close by. Mm. So there was no relevance to the fact that Jen's closer than me at all. If anything, she is less flexible than me. So she's a nurse, has shift work, has a family, is trying to maintain, sort of balance all of that, as well as I know she does feel bad about not being close by and being able to be more helpful. And the more helpful bit, I know the pair of us are being really supportive at a distance, but there is a practical element of being close by that's helpful. I can't run them to the shop. I can't pick stuff up and drop it off for them. I can lean into my network of friends that are there and ask them to help. That's easily done, and I've got no dramas in doing that. But it's not the sort of instant family, right, we'll drop what we're doing and get on and do it. That's practically really, really hard. I know I can get there if I fly, within 3 hours probably, door to door, maybe 4. So that, it is fairly quick, and I can drive there in 7. So again, I can get there practically quite quickly. But that's just dealing with the practical bits. I don't think I'm being judgmental with myself, but am I? There might be something floating around in there. So it's just an interesting juggle. The question about what do other people think. Not too concerned about what they think, but there is there is the perception of what other people might think, I suppose, and how other people might handle this. There's the comparisons that we make logically ourselves, which may or may not be helpful. I know I'm doing the best I can. I know they've got everything that they need. I know, when I was speaking to Mum earlier about something, and she was worrying about 3 or 4 steps down the road. So, well, we're not there yet. So let's cross that bridge when we come to it. Let's look at what is possible now. And I know even if they don't pick the phone up, I can phone a bunch of their friends and make things happen for them. If they're feeling too proud to ask, I've got no dramas in asking for them. But have I spoken to them about it? Not really. We do speak, I'm about to arrange another family Zoom call to just get everybody on the same page so that we all know where we are with the current situation. Because it's handy to all be on the same page. So we do talk, but have I asked them directly? Probably not recently. So that's something to take away and have a think about. And I certainly haven't asked my sister because I don't want to, probably because I don't want to put any, or for her to feel any more pressure than she might be already, which is a bit of a lame excuse on my side for not asking the question, because who knows if asking that question, what direction that will be taken in. So that is a lame excuse of mine. So I'll have to think about that one. The question about excuses was a funny one. That got me smiling. I don't think I'm using the girls as an excuse. That's a practical thing. But again, if something were to happen, I could make some phone calls and we could come up with a solution up here. I just know that my support network up here isn't as strong as it could be. That's not a drama. So I know I've got limited flexibility on that front. So I suppose there's an element of me not asking for not wanting to either hear the answer that's no, which actually be quite useful to know, or not wanting to feel that I'm putting on others, which I know is daft, because if they were to ask me, I'd do it in a heartbeat. So that's an interesting one. So there's probably some conversations to be had here with friends here about what happens if, and as well as having conversations with the girls about that. And I know, I've got a good relationship with my ex-wife. It's tricky that she does shifts, so there is a limiting factor there. But actually, the girls are fairly self-sustaining these days as teenagers. So maybe I just need to have, put my big boy pants on and have some conversations, and see where that takes us. So thank you. That's been really helpful.
Well, thanks for letting us play along with you.
No, well,
Thanks for sharing, Dave.
Thanks.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to. Greg and Lynne heard at the weekend what I think about opportunities like this, and we've equally got infinite capacity for insight and seeing things freshly, but it's sort of infinity plus when you get more people together. Not that that's a possibility, but it just gears the whole system up, and it allows ideas to bounce around the place that probably would have got there on their own eventually, but they just get given a little bit of an extra nudge. and that's always good value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I had a coaching call the other day with a peer coaching thing, and it wasn't a particularly good call. I didn't think in terms of like he wasn't asking me the right questions and all this stuff. But I thought afterwards, like, how do you evaluate a coaching call? And what I came down to was what was the impact, right? Like it's not at first I was like, well, it's about the connection and it's about the quality of the questions and all this stuff. And I thought, no, really, it's just the impact. And I thought, you know what? Even though he didn't ask me, I didn't think he was asking me the right questions. By virtue of not asking me the right questions, it forced me to ask myself the right questions. And
so maybe they were the right questions.
Exactly. And in the end, the impact was quite high. Like I came out of that with seeing a lot of things fresh and new. So yeah, I think anytime you get into a room with other people who genuinely want to be there to support you, whether they say the right things or not, is irrelevant. It's just that connection and that something good happens. It's been my experience.
Definitely.
I think there's also something to be said about the very structure of this game, if you like, it implies that Dave talks, we talk, and then Dave talks in this case. And the very fact that the only thing that we can do is, and we know how to do it, is the listening. I think that in itself is just, allowing that space for somebody else to listen and just see what comes up, kind of thing. And the more people are listening, I think the higher the energy. So like the higher the impact, kind of thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
It's a pleasure. It's the same thing with a music concert or whatever it happens to be. The energy level is palpably different because everybody is just listening.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else to do in that sense, and you're all there with a set, a unified purpose in that moment of listening, and that's why people feel such great connection at music events.
It's funny you say that. I went to a concert like as soon as the lockdowns here were over, we were at a concert. So you go from having like 2 years of barely being around anybody to being with 15 or 20,000 people, and it was as far as concerts go, it was probably average. But as far as the connection and the crowd and the energy, it was probably the best concert I've ever been to. Because we were all starving for that connection and that energy.
Yeah.
Dave, can I just ask you, what's, if there is any, a difference from the feeling that you have right now, differently to when you came in?
For the call, for the whole session, or for this?
For this part.
No, I think I'm fairly much where I started off, but I think if anything, it's been reassuring in that sense. It's been affirming, it's sort of reaffirmed stuff, and it's given me stuff to go away and ponder on my own and see what shows up from there. So I've definitely got something to take away and play with, and I know that something exciting will come from that. So yeah, we'll see. But it's the, as you were saying, I think Greg right at the beginning, got to be in it to win it, or whatever it was, or come on, the game show element of it. There's magic to be got out of this. It just hasn't popped up yet, but it will do.
Well, you strike me as being pretty well grounded at the best, even in the worst of times. So I think for you, it's when you're already on the ground, it's hard to go lower.
Well, you can dig a hole. Yeah. No, I've been lucky that I've been like that most of my life. There've been obviously times when it's not been like that, but the biggest takeaway I've got from the learning about the principles is that one, that's available to everybody, and two, that there is, by me not freaking out in the past, there wasn't something wrong with me. I wasn't being negligent, if that makes sense. And when I was freaking out, it was because I was lost in thought. So, yeah, best thing I've ever discovered.
Same here.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
Thanks for playing along. We'll see you next time on the Clarity Games.